with some limited exceptions. We're not touching the contiguous state rule. We're touching the locality rule, which is an antiquated, arcane approach to trying to show what the standard of care is in a particular place. To put it quite simply, an appendectomy in Memphis ought to be the same as an appendectomy in Knoxville. So we're eliminating a very small portion of the locality rule, and it cuts both ways, ladies and gentlemen. The most recent case that I found on this subject is Allen versus Methodist Hospital. It was a lawsuit involving a baby that was injured during birth. And the hospital won. They went to trial, and the hospital won. When then the plaintiff appealed, the judge, the appellate court, threw it out because the defense lawyer, the defense expert, didn't satisfy the locality rule. Now, this is a doctor, mind you, that practices here in Nashville. This is a case that arose in Memphis. He had been to Memphis lots of times. He even taught CME courses in Memphis. But he didn't say the right buzzwords. And you think that the standard of care about what he was talking about is any different in Memphis than it is in Nashville? You know it's not. You know it's not. So it does make that change. Mr. Speaker, move adoption of Amendment Number 1.
Gentleman moves.
The bill also, with the Judiciary Committee amendment, provides for quick access for attorneys to pertinent medical records. And finally, it does have a change in what has been called the locality rule. I don't think I've ever heard so much misinformation in my 7 years in the legislature about what a change has been than on this one provision. I talked to a good friend, a doctor, about a week or so ago, who said he had heard that we had eliminated the locality rule and gone to a national standard. That is not true. And the longer I have studied the House Judiciary Amendment, and believe me, I have, the more I'm committed that it advances the ball of medical malpractice reform. Now, if you should, as I have heard, want to vote against the House Judiciary Committee amendment, let me tell you what you will do. I think you will set back the cause of medical malpractice reform at least throughout the 105th General Assembly. So if you want to set it back, if you want to kill the effort of medical malpractice liability reform, go ahead and vote against it.
Only substantial difference in the House Judiciary Committee amendment and the Senate bill is what's termed the locality rule. It is something, though, that gives an undue advantage to one side over the other. So with that explanation, Mr. Speaker, would like to very respectfully to the sponsor, to the chairman of the Judiciary Committee who is handling the amendment, move this amendment to the table.
Proper motion, properly seconded. Cuts off all debate except for Chairman Briley. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And with all due respect to the leader across the aisle, I don't recall him ever being in those meetings that we had over the course of months to work on these issues. And perhaps there was a commitment to put the locality rule on the Senate amendment, and it just didn't get done in time. It is an arcane rule, ladies and gentlemen. It is antiquated. It means nothing in today's medical society. You know, you've got our friends from the medical community standing up there, and they're telling you it's bad, it's bad, it's bad. Well, what if I told you that I'd gotten a commitment from them at one point in time to pass a bill that essentially did this and included a locality rule change? And I've got it in writing, ladies and gentlemen. So why don't you go ask them about it? So this isn't that the locality rule is a bad piece of law, and the change to this does not tilt the scales in favor of plaintiffs. So with all due respect to my leader across the aisle here, I'd encourage people to vote for the amendment. Vote against the motion to lay on the table.
Parliamentary situation. Representative Briley has moved adoption of amendment number 1. Representative Mumpower has moved that to the table. We are voting on the tabling motion. I'm going to put it on the board first and declare 127D. All those in favor of the tabling motion will vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed will vote no. Every member cast their vote. We're on the tabling motion. Every member voted. Any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, take the vote.
Ayes 54 and noes 43.
The tabling motion prevails. Mr. Clerk, call up the next amendment. Representative Overby.
Mr. Speaker, I move to re-refer the bill to the Judiciary Committee.
Without objection. It's gone, boys. Next bill.